God is removing fear from your soulmate's heart right now, and before you question how or why, pause for a moment and let this truth settle gently. This is not about instant change or dramatic signs. This is about a quiet, divine process unfolding in the unseen places of their heart, where fear once lived and shaped their decisions. What's happening now is subtle, but it is powerful, and it is intentional. For a long time, fear has been the lens through which your soulmate viewed love. Not because they didn't want love, but because love once cost them something. Pain, disappointment, abandonment, confusion. Fear doesn't come from nowhere. It grows from memories, from moments where trust was broken or where vulnerability felt unsafe. God has seen every one of those moments, even the ones your soulmate never spoke out loud. Right now, something is shifting. Your soulmate may not even have the words for it yet, but they're feeling lighter in ways they can't explain. Thoughts that once spiraled into worst-case scenarios are slowing down. The tightness they used to feel when thinking about commitment, honesty, or emotional closeness is beginning to loosen. This is not coincidence. This is healing. God removes fear gently, because fear has roots. If it were pulled out all at once, it would leave wounds behind. Instead, God replaces fear with understanding, with peace, with a sense of safety that doesn't come from control but from trust. Your soulmate is beginning to feel that safety now. You may have noticed subtle changes. Maybe they seem calmer. Maybe they're less defensive. Maybe they're no longer avoiding certain conversations the way they used to. These are not random improvements. These are signs of fear losing its authority over their heart. Fear once told them that loving deeply would lead to loss. Fear told them that being honest would end things. Fear told them that choosing fully meant risking everything. But God is rewriting those beliefs now. Not through force, but through truth. Your soulmate is starting to realize that fear has been protecting them in ways that no longer serve them. Protection that once kept them alive emotionally is now keeping them stuck. God knows the exact moment when protection turns into limitation, and that moment has arrived. This is why your soulmate has been reflecting more lately. Thinking about the past with less pain and more clarity. Seeing old patterns for what they were, not as proof of failure, but as lessons that shaped them. When fear leaves, perspective enters. God is teaching your soulmate that love does not always repeat the same story. That choosing you is not choosing the past again. That vulnerability does not automatically lead to loss. These truths are settling into their spirit slowly, replacing fear with faith. Faith doesn't mean certainty. Faith means willingness. Willingness to trust again. Willingness to speak honestly. Willingness to stay present even when emotions feel unfamiliar. Your soulmate is stepping into that willingness now, one small decision at a time. There were moments when fear made them pull back without understanding why. Moments when fear made them silent instead of expressive. Moments when fear disguised itself as logic, caution, or being realistic. God is revealing those disguises now. Your soulmate is beginning to see that what they called logic was often fear in a convincing voice. Fear pretending to be wisdom. Fear pretending to be patience. Fear pretending to be self-control. God is gently separating truth from fear in their heart. This is why old doubts are losing their grip. The doubts that said, "What if this doesn't last?" What if I get hurt again? What if I'm not enough? Those questions are being replaced with quieter ones. What if this is different? What if I don't have to run? What if love is safe now? God is not rushing your soulmate. He is preparing them. Preparation looks like inner peace before outer action. It looks like emotional grounding before big decisions. It looks like clarity replacing confusion. Your soulmate may not yet know what steps they're going to take, but they know something important. They don't feel as afraid as they used to. And that realization alone is changing how they relate to you, to themselves, and to the future. Fear once controlled the timing of their life. When to speak. When to retreat. When to hold back. God is taking that control away from fear and returning it to trust. Not blind trust, but grounded trust built on healing. This is also why your soulmate might feel emotional waves coming up unexpectedly. Old memories surfacing. Old feelings releasing. That's fear leaving the body. Fear doesn't leave quietly. It loosens, it shakes, it dissolves. God is present through every part of that release. You are connected to this process more than you realize. Not because you are responsible for it, but because love often triggers healing. Loving someone safe exposes the fear that once kept someone guarded. God uses connection as a tool for restoration. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that you are not asking them to relive their wounds. You are offering them a new experience. One where honesty is met with understanding. Where vulnerability is met with care. That realization is healing fear at its core. God is also reminding your soulmate that they are not alone anymore. That they don't have to carry everything by themselves. Fear thrives in isolation. Faith grows in connection. And God is restoring their ability to lean, to trust, to open. There were prayers spoken long ago, maybe even forgotten ones, asking for peace, for clarity, for the courage to love without fear. God remembers every prayer. Answers don't always come immediately, but they always come intentionally. This is one of those answers. Your soulmate is starting to feel guided instead of pressured. Calm instead of anxious. Curious instead of defensive. These are signs that fear is no longer driving their heart. God is not removing fear so your soulmate can become reckless. He is removing fear so they can become honest. So they can choose love without self-sabotage. So they can stop running from what their heart already knows. This process also involves forgiveness. Forgiveness of themselves for past choices. Forgiveness of others who hurt them. Forgiveness clears space. And God is creating space in their heart right now. You may sense moments where they seem emotionally closer, even if nothing has been said yet. That closeness comes from internal alignment. When fear leaves, presence increases. They're more here now. More open. More real. God is aligning your soulmate's heart with peace, not panic. With truth, not avoidance. With courage, not control. This alignment is what prepares them for deeper connection. This is not the end of their fear journey. Healing happens in stages. But this stage is significant. The foundation is shifting. The ground beneath fear is being removed. What once felt impossible now feels possible. What once felt dangerous now feels manageable. What once felt overwhelming now feels worth trying. These changes are not random. They are divine. God is reminding your soulmate that love is not a threat. Love is a calling. And answering a calling requires courage, not fear. Right now, your soulmate is being invited to step into a version of themselves that is freer, calmer, and more trusting. They may not fully recognize this version yet, but it is emerging. Trust that this process is real. Trust that it is unfolding at the right pace. Trust that fear does not get the final word. God is removing fear from your soulmate's heart right now, not to rush them, not to force outcomes, but to prepare them for love that is rooted in peace. And this is only the beginning of that transformation. Something deeper is continuing now, beneath the surface, and it's important to understand that when God removes fear, He doesn't just take something away, He replaces it with something stronger. What's unfolding in your soulmate's heart at this stage is not emptiness where fear once lived, but structure. Stability. A new inner foundation that can actually hold love without collapsing under it. Your soulmate is beginning to notice that situations which once triggered anxiety no longer have the same power. Conversations that used to feel threatening now feel manageable. Decisions that once felt paralyzing now feel possible. This doesn't mean fear is completely gone yet. It means fear is no longer in charge. God is teaching your soulmate how to sit with emotion without immediately reacting to it. Before, fear rushed them into defense, silence, withdrawal, overthinking, avoidance. Now, there is a pause. A space between feeling and reacting. That pause is where healing lives. In that pause, your soulmate is starting to hear a different inner voice. Not the one that says, protect yourself at all costs, but the one that says, you are safe enough to stay. This voice doesn't shout. It reassures. It doesn't rush. It steadies. This is why they may feel unfamiliar emotions rising lately. Calm can feel strange to someone who has lived in survival mode for a long time. Peace can feel suspicious at first. When fear has been a companion for years, its absence feels like silence, and silence can feel unsettling before it feels comforting. God is walking them through that adjustment gently. Your soulmate is learning that not every intense emotion is danger. Not every uncomfortable feeling means something is wrong. Some feelings are simply part of growth. God is retraining their nervous system, teaching their body what safety actually feels like. This process goes deeper than thoughts. It reaches memory, trauma, muscle memory. God is touching places inside them that logic could never reach. That's why healing doesn't always look linear. Some days feel lighter. Some days feel heavy again. Both are part of release. Fear doesn't leave without trying to convince someone to keep it. It whispers old stories, remember what happened last time. Don't forget how much that hurt. Be careful, you survived by staying guarded. God is answering those whispers now, not by erasing the past, but by reframing it. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that surviving is not the same as living. That the version of themselves who needed fear to survive no longer exists in the same way. God is not asking them to forget who they were. He is asking them to step into who they are becoming. This is also where trust begins to rebuild, not blind trust, but discerning trust. Trust that recognizes red flags without creating them. Trust that doesn't confuse vulnerability with weakness. Trust that allows love to be explored without demanding certainty first. Your soulmate is slowly realizing that fear was never protecting their heart as much as it claimed to. It was protecting the wound, not the future. God is showing them that guarding pain only keeps pain alive. Healing requires exposure to something new. That something new is peace. Peace doesn't arrive as excitement. It arrives as steadiness. As emotional breathing room. As the ability to stay present instead of planning an escape. Your soulmate is tasting that peace now in moments, small ones at first. They may notice that when they think about the future, it doesn't feel as heavy. When they think about love, their chest doesn't tighten the way it used to. There's curiosity where dread once lived. Hope where fear once dominated. This shift is also affecting how they see themselves. Fear told them they were broken, too complicated, too damaged to love fully. God is replacing that narrative with truth. Truth that says they are worthy, capable, and allowed to choose joy without punishment. This is a crucial part of fear removal, identity restoration. When fear controls someone, it shapes their identity around avoidance. Around, I don't do that, I can't handle this, I'm not built for love. God is dismantling those identities now and rebuilding them around strength, clarity, and self-trust. Your soulmate is beginning to trust their own emotional responses again. They're no longer dismissing their feelings as weakness. They're learning to listen to them without being ruled by them. That balance is rare, and it's a sign of deep healing. God is also teaching them that love doesn't require perfection. Fear demanded perfection because perfection felt safer than authenticity. God invites authenticity because authenticity creates connection. Your soulmate is learning that they don't have to have everything figured out to be loved. This lesson is reshaping how they approach you. They may feel less guarded in your presence. More willing to share thoughts without editing them first. More open to staying in conversations instead of escaping discomfort. These changes may feel subtle, but they are profound. Fear once made them believe that closeness would cost them freedom. God is showing them that closeness can actually bring peace. That being known doesn't have to mean being controlled. That commitment doesn't mean losing oneself. This is why your soulmate may be re-evaluating old beliefs about relationships. Beliefs they inherited from past experiences, from family patterns, from previous heartbreaks. God is separating what was learned from what is true. They are realizing that not every story has to end the same way. There is also a surrender happening now. Not giving up, but letting go of control. Fear clings to control because control feels like safety. God is teaching your soulmate that real safety comes from trust, not control. This surrender is freeing emotional energy that was previously tied up in overthinking. That energy is now available for presence, creativity, affection, and connection. Your soulmate may feel more alive in ways they didn't expect. They might also feel moments of grief. Grief for the years spent afraid. Grief for opportunities missed because fear made them hesitate. God allows this grief because grief clears space. It honors the past without trapping the future. Fear removal is not denial of pain. It is integration of pain. Your soulmate is integrating their past into wisdom rather than letting it define their limits. They are learning that wounds don't disqualify them from love. They qualify them for empathy. God is reminding them that courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement in the presence of fear. And right now, your soulmate is moving, slowly, steadily, toward love without running. This is why decisions that once felt terrifying now feel approachable. Conversations that once felt risky now feel necessary. The heart that once slammed shut now pauses instead of closing. God is also strengthening their discernment. Removing fear does not mean removing wisdom. Your soulmate is becoming more emotionally intelligent, not more naive. They can see clearly without panicking. This clarity is what prepares them for deeper connection. Your soulmate is learning how to let love in without abandoning themselves. How to be open without being unprotected. How to choose without being consumed by what-ifs. That balance is sacred. You may not see all of this yet, but you can feel the shift. In their energy. In their presence. In the way the connection feels less tense, less fragile. God is working in timing, not urgency. Fear rushes. God steadies. And this process is not finished, but it is firmly underway. What once controlled your soulmate's heart no longer has the same authority. Fear is being replaced with faith, not in outcomes, but in the process of love itself. Faith that says, even if I don't know how this ends, I trust how it begins. This is the heart God is forming right now. A heart that can stay. A heart that can choose. A heart that can love without running. And this is only the next step in that transformation. There is a deeper layer of healing unfolding now, one that reaches beyond thoughts and emotions and moves into the core of who your soulmate believes they are. When God removes fear at this level, it's not just about feeling calmer or braver. It's about identity being restored. And this stage is sacred. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that fear shaped their personality for a long time without them noticing. It influenced how much they shared, how close they allowed people to get, how quickly they pulled away when things felt serious. They thought this was just who they are. God is gently revealing that it was never their true nature. It was a response to pain. This realization can feel disorienting at first. When fear loosens its grip, there's a question that rises quietly inside. If I'm not the guarded one anymore, who am I? God doesn't answer that question all at once. He answers it through experience. Through moments where your soulmate stays instead of fleeing. Through conversations where honesty replaces defense. Through feelings that pass without being suppressed. Your soulmate is learning that they don't need to manage every outcome to be safe. For years, fear convinced them that control was protection. Control over emotions. Control over expectations. Control over attachment. God is teaching them something radically different now. Safety comes from trust, not control. This shift is uncomfortable in a new way. Letting go of fear means letting go of the familiar. Even pain can feel familiar. Fear had a rhythm they knew how to follow. Peace doesn't follow that rhythm. Peace invites stillness, and stillness can feel exposed before it feels safe. That's why your soulmate may feel moments of vulnerability that don't come with panic anymore, but still feel raw. They're not used to sitting with openness without immediately closing it. God is teaching them that openness doesn't need to be punished. One of the most powerful changes happening now is how your soulmate relates to uncertainty. Fear demanded certainty before action. It said, "Don't move until you're sure." God is teaching them to move with faith instead. Faith that doesn't require guarantees, only guidance. This doesn't mean they're becoming reckless. It means they're becoming responsive. Responsive to intuition instead of fear. Responsive to peace instead of panic. Responsive to love instead of avoidance. Your soulmate is starting to recognize that fear always asked for proof before trust. Proof that someone wouldn't leave. Proof that pain wouldn't return. Proof that vulnerability would be safe. God is reversing that order. Trust is coming first now. Proof will follow. This reversal changes everything. It changes how they interpret silence. Silence no longer automatically means danger. It changes how they interpret closeness. Closeness no longer automatically means loss of self. It changes how they interpret love. Love no longer automatically means risk without reward. Your soulmate is beginning to feel worthy of good outcomes. This is a profound shift. Fear kept them bracing for disappointment, even in joyful moments. God is teaching them that they don't have to earn peace through suffering. Peace is a gift, not a reward. There may be moments where your soulmate feels unexpected emotion rise up without a clear reason. Tears that don't feel sad. Warmth in the chest. A sense of relief that comes out of nowhere. These are signs of release. Fear doesn't just leave the mind. It leaves the body. God is healing your soulmate's nervous system. Teaching it that love is not a threat. That connection doesn't require hypervigilance. That rest is allowed. This healing is also affecting how they see their past. Memories that once triggered shame or regret are being reinterpreted. Instead of "I failed," they're beginning to see "I survived." Instead of "I ruined things," they see "I did the best I could with what I knew then." That compassion toward themselves is essential. Fear thrives on self-criticism. God replaces fear by restoring self-compassion. Your soulmate is also learning to forgive themselves for staying too long in fear-based patterns. For missing opportunities. For pushing love away when it felt too big. God is not asking them to relive regret. He's asking them to release it. Release creates space. And in that space, desire is returning. Not desperate desire, but healthy longing. Longing to connect. Longing to be known. Longing to build something meaningful instead of just protecting themselves. This is why your soulmate may feel a pull toward honesty now. A discomfort with half-truths. A restlessness with emotional distance. Fear-tolerated distance. Healing does not. They're becoming aware that withholding themselves no longer feels safe. It feels lonely. God is shifting their definition of safety from "nothing can hurt me" to "I can handle what comes." That strength is not loud. It's grounded. It's the strength of someone who knows they can feel deeply and still stand. Your soulmate is also beginning to trust their own discernment again. Fear made them doubt themselves constantly. Overthink. Second guess. God is restoring their inner compass. They're learning to listen inwardly without panic. This doesn't mean every decision feels easy. It means decisions feel clearer. Less cluttered by fear's noise. More aligned with peace. You may notice that your soulmate is more present now. Less distracted. Less guarded. Presence is what emerges when fear no longer needs to scan for danger constantly. God is also preparing them for responsibility. Not responsibility as burden, but responsibility as stewardship. Stewardship of love. Stewardship of connection. Stewardship of the heart they are now brave enough to open. This stage is where fear loses its identity-shaping power. It no longer defines who your soulmate is. It becomes part of their story, not the author of it. They're beginning to understand that love doesn't need to be rushed or resisted. It needs to be respected. Respected enough to show up honestly. Respected enough to stay when things are uncomfortable. God is anchoring them in truth now. Truth about who they are. Truth about what they're capable of. Truth about what love can be when fear is no longer driving the decisions. This anchoring is what allows fear to leave without chaos. Without collapse. Without replacement by another coping mechanism. God is filling the space fear occupied with peace, courage, and clarity. Your soulmate is not becoming someone else. They are becoming themselves without fear. That difference matters. They're still cautious at times, but caution is no longer fear-based. It's wisdom-based. It's grounded, not reactive. It allows movement instead of paralysis. This is also the stage where faith becomes embodied. Not faith as belief alone, but faith as behavior. Choosing to stay. Choosing to speak. Choosing to open. God is guiding your soulmate step by step. Not ahead of their capacity. Not behind their readiness. Exactly where they are. Fear once told them, "You're not ready." God is now saying, "You're prepared." Prepared doesn't mean perfect. It means willing. And willingness is the doorway through which love enters fully. This stage of healing is not flashy. It's deep. It's foundational. It's the kind of work that changes the rest of someone's life quietly and permanently. God is removing fear from your soulmate's heart right now in a way that restores their true self, not just their comfort. A self that can love without running. A self that can stay without losing itself. A self that can trust without denying the past. This is the heart that is forming now. And once fear no longer defines the heart, love no longer feels dangerous. It feels possible. And that is the miracle happening in this moment. There is a moment in healing when fear no longer feels like an enemy being fought, but like a chapter quietly closing. Your soulmate is entering that moment now. What's happening inside them isn't loud or dramatic. It's steady. It's rooted. It's the kind of change that doesn't announce itself, but reshapes everything that follows. At this stage, fear is no longer sitting in the driver's seat of their heart. It may still speak occasionally, but it no longer decides. Your soulmate is beginning to notice that their first instinct is no longer to retreat, protect, or shut down. Instead, there is a pause. And in that pause, there is choice. That pause is sacred. For a long time, fear made decisions automatically. It chose distance over closeness. Silence over honesty. Safety over intimacy. God is interrupting that automatic response now. Your soulmate is learning that they don't have to obey fear just because it appears. This is where real freedom begins. Your soulmate is starting to feel emotionally capable in a way they never did before. Not invincible. Not fearless. Capable. Capable of feeling deeply without being overwhelmed. Capable of staying present even when emotions rise. Capable of handling outcomes without falling apart. That capability didn't come from forcing confidence. It came from healing trust within themselves. Trust that they can survive discomfort. Trust that they can speak truth and still be okay. Trust that love doesn't automatically end in loss. God is rebuilding that trust layer by layer. One of the biggest shifts happening now is how your soulmate views vulnerability. Before, vulnerability felt like exposure without protection. Like opening a door and waiting to be hurt. Now, vulnerability is starting to feel like alignment. Like being honest with what's already true inside. This doesn't mean vulnerability feels easy yet. It means it no longer feels dangerous. Your soulmate is learning that they don't need to armor up before every emotional moment. That armor was heavy. It kept them alive, but it also kept them distant. God is helping them set it down gently, not all at once, but when they're ready. There's also a quiet strengthening happening in their sense of self. Fear once made them question their worth, their choices, their timing. God is restoring confidence, not through comparison or validation, but through inner stability. They're beginning to feel anchored in who they are, even when things are uncertain. That anchoring is what allows fear to loosen its grip. Your soulmate may notice that they're less reactive now. Less likely to spiral into worst-case thinking. Less likely to assume abandonment or failure at the first sign of difficulty. This doesn't mean they don't care. It means they're regulated. Regulation is what fear never allowed. God is calming their nervous system. Teaching their body that peace is not a trap. That calm does not mean danger is coming. That rest is allowed. This is especially important because fear often lived in their body more than their mind. Tight shoulders. Shallow breathing. Restlessness. God is releasing fear from those physical places now. Healing is happening somatically, not just emotionally. Your soulmate may feel moments of unexpected relief. Like exhaling without realizing they were holding their breath for years. That relief is not random. It's fear leaving. As fear loosens, honesty becomes easier. Not just honesty with others, but honesty with themselves. They're able to admit what they want without shame. Admit what they're afraid of without judgment. Admit what matters to them without minimizing it. This honesty is changing how they view love. Love is no longer something they must approach cautiously, measuring every step. It's becoming something they can engage with thoughtfully, without self-betrayal. God is teaching them that discernment doesn't require fear. Wisdom doesn't require anxiety. They can see clearly without panicking. Your soulmate is also becoming aware of how much fear once distorted their perception. How it made neutral situations feel threatening. How it made good things feel temporary. How it made them wait for loss even in moments of joy. That distortion is clearing. They're starting to experience joy without immediately preparing for it to end. That alone is a miracle for someone who has lived under fear's shadow. There may be moments when they feel unfamiliar emotions like hope rising without resistance, or excitement without guilt, or peace without explanation. These moments can feel strange at first, because fear trained them to be suspicious of ease. God is reassuring them now that ease does not mean danger. Ease can mean alignment. Another powerful shift happening is in how your soulmate relates to time. Fear made them rush or freeze. Rush to protect. Freeze to avoid. God is restoring patience without paralysis. They're able to move forward without needing everything resolved first. They're learning that clarity unfolds through movement, not avoidance. This is why decisions that once felt impossible now feel approachable. Not because the stakes are lower, but because their capacity is higher. God has expanded their capacity. Your soulmate is also releasing the belief that they must be fully healed to be worthy of love. Fear demanded perfection before connection. God is teaching them that growth and love can coexist. They don't need to arrive finished. They need to arrive honest. That truth is freeing them. You may notice that your soulmate is more emotionally available now, even if they're not fully expressive yet. Availability doesn't always look like words. Sometimes it looks like staying. Like listening. Like not running when emotions deepen. This staying is new for them. And it matters. God is also restoring their ability to trust God Himself. Fear often made them feel alone, like they had to manage everything themselves. God is reminding them that they are supported. That they are guided. That they don't have to carry the weight alone. This spiritual trust is reinforcing emotional trust. Your soulmate is beginning to feel that even if something doesn't work out the way they hope, they will still be okay. That resilience is fear's undoing. Fear thrives when someone believes pain will destroy them. God is showing them it won't. This doesn't make them careless. It makes them courageous. They're learning that courage doesn't mean absence of fear. It means fear no longer gets veto power over their life. At this stage, fear may try one last time to reassert itself. Old doubts may surface briefly. Old memories may replay. This is not regression. It's release. Fear often surfaces before it leaves completely. God is steady through this. He is not alarmed by the process. He is patient. Your soulmate is patient too, in a new way. Not passive, but trusting. Trusting that what is unfolding is purposeful. Trusting that they don't need to rush healing or control outcomes. This patience is evidence of faith taking root. Faith that says, I can move forward even if I don't see the whole path. God is aligning your soulmate's heart with truth now. Truth about their strength. Truth about love. Truth about the future not being a repeat of the past. Fear once told them, you must protect yourself at all costs. God is now saying, you are safe enough to love. That message is sinking deep. Your soulmate is not the same person they were when fear ruled their heart. They are becoming someone who can choose differently, love differently, stay differently. This transformation is not rushed because it's meant to last. God is removing fear from your soulmate's heart right now in a way that creates stability, not chaos. In a way that builds courage, not recklessness. In a way that restores trust, not naivety. This stage is about embodiment. About living differently, not just thinking differently. And because of that, the changes you will see next won't be temporary. They will be rooted. Rooted in peace. Rooted in courage. Rooted in faith. Fear is no longer defining their limits. Love is beginning to define their direction. And that is the work God is completing in this season. Not loudly, but permanently.